It was now Sunday morning, and the 8 sergeants had all gathered inside the portal hall. The doors to the training hall soon opened, and every one of the sergeants immediately gave a salute to the 4 men who had entered the room. Duke, the head of the second-year students, Nathan, the head of the first-year students, and Mike stood in the center. Then, finally, standing behind the 3 of them was a man in a black and white tailored suit. It was the head general, Paul. "Nathan, I'm afraid I have some bad news for you," said Paul. "The upcoming portal outing for the first-year students will not be a green portal like how we originally planned it, but it will be an orange portal instead." Hearing this, Nathan's eyes widened. "Sir, this is crazy. They're only first-year students. Why do we need to push them so fast?" "There are reports that the Dalki are becoming more aggressive with their exploration. War will soon be waged, and the Dalki do not discriminate. Whether they are children or not, they should get the experience now. I will permit you to send a couple of sergeants with them for their safeguarding rather than the regular teachers, but that's it." The generals now stood a few feet away from the circular teleporter. Paul lifted his wrist to look at his watch, checking the time. It was currently 8:59. 9 o'clock. As soon as the watch displayed 9, the portal started to warp slightly, and 3 figures could be seen coming through. Standing in the center was a bald man who wore sunglasses, and he had also donned a suit. "Jack!" greeted Paul. "It's been a while." Although Jack Truedream didn't look impressive by himself, the 2 men who came out of the portal beside him did. One of them was a large fellow whose height was nearly 7 feet. He was completely covered in a gray-colored beast equipment, which looked similar to a rhino, while he carried a large 2-handed axe on his back. By his side was an individual who was the complete opposite, a small, skinny fellow. This person was wearing beast equipment that was dark green in hue and had a mask covering his face, although instead of heavy armor like the other person, he wore light armor. The fact that Jack felt the need to bring these 2 was to remind them of the power that his family had. "I was hoping to speak to your sergeants who discovered one of our family members." That was the real reason why Jack had decided to visit the military base. Perhaps whatever had killed Ian was the same thing that killed one of his top men. Right now, both Jack and Haley were inside the medical office. "When you recovered his body, other than the 2 boys that were with him in the place, was there anything else or anything inside?" Jack asked. "Nothing that I can remember, although now that you mention it, it did seem a little strange," Haley said. "What do you mean?" "Well, even though everything was supposedly destroyed, the whole training center was left untouched, due to it being made of lithium. It looks like not a single beast had managed to get inside the place. Yet, when we entered, it seemed like the whole place had been trashed, as if a huge brawl had taken place." "It sounds like Ian must have fought something while he was in there," Jack said. "Do you have the names of the 2 boys? If they were there, then they must have at least seen something." The 2 students' files were brought up. The first one was Quinn. Jack quickly scanned it over, but as soon as he saw he was only a level 1 ability user, he quickly disregarded it. The next person was Vordon, who interested him. On his file, it stated his initial testing was a level 5, but next to it in brackets, they said it was subject to changes, and it was also stated that he was an original. Vordon Blade. After reading this name out loud, a memory had popped into his head. Several years ago, Jack had had his power for a few years now, and his family members were starting to grow. He had been called in for a meeting. This meeting was between the big 3 powers, the strongest originals. They had acknowledged the strength Jack and his family had at that time. However, one thing had stuck in his mind. There was one rule they stated before he left: to never touch the Blade family. "If you ever meet one of them, you have 2 choices," one of the men said. "Stay away or help them, but if you go against them, not even we can help you." Although it was a Sunday, all the students had been told to gather in the assembly hall for a special occasion. Right now, standing up on the stage was Duke, and behind him were the 2 men who had arrived with Jack. "All right, is everyone ready?" Logan asked. Right now, Logan had a small earpiece that acted as a microphone, while the others apart from Peter had the same. It was time for them to put their plan into action. "Ready," they all replied. Quinn and Vordon were standing relatively close to each other, while Peter was standing a row in front of them so they could keep an eye on him, while the girls stood directly at the front of the class. Their section was stationed closest to the stage, while right at the back towards the exit was Logan. To his surprise, it seemed like Fex was in the same homeroom class as him. "Rayton, you remember the plan, right?" Vordon asked. "As soon as you finish with what needs to be done, then you get out of there. I don't care if someone looks interesting to fight or if someone looked at you the wrong way. We need to disappear immediately after you're done." "Will you shut up?" Rayton snapped back. "For the last 2 days you've said the same thing over and over to me." The 2 abilities he needed were already stored for the day. Right now they just needed for the assembly to be over. Quinn, on the other hand, was worried for Peter. The system recommended giving Peter some of his blood, which he did, and he gave the order not to attack Duke or Jack. The only way that Peter could disobey this order is if his life was put on the line. Then self-preservation would override Quinn's orders. "Please clap for Mr. Truedream," Duke said as he walked off the stage. Mr. Truedream then got up from his seat and came up from the side of the stage. As he stepped forward, so did the 2 guards next to him. "I have a close relationship with the military, and I visit every base each year. But I have to say, out of all the military bases, this is my favorite one. I also seem to get the most and the best gifts directly delivered to my doorstep here," Jack said with a smile. Most likely those gifts he was talking about were the students given to him right after this assembly. While the speech continued, from the bottom of Logan's sleeve, one of the small mechanical spiders crawled down his shirt and hopped off his shoe. "All right, guys, it's all set," Logan whispered. As Jack left the stage, Duke returned. He had one last thing to say to everyone. "Before I dismiss you all to enjoy the rest of your day off, I would like these 8 students to stay behind. Ray Dem, Howard Hubby, Wilford Green, Sarah Beeswax, Michael Briscoe, Amy Yellop, Peter Chuck, and finally Erin Haley. These students please stay behind and come to the front of the stage. The rest may leave." The students left the room one by one. After hearing the final name that had been called, the whole group was shocked at what they had heard. The final name was Erin. As Logan waited outside, he realized the others hadn't come out with him, so he took a bite of his sandwich before he said, "Guys, come on, we need to start our plan straight away. I know this is a shock, but that shouldn't deviate us from the original plan. Instead of saving 1, now we just need to save 2. With Logan's words, the group quickly snapped out of it and made their way out of the assembly hall with everyone else. The students, whose names were announced, went to the front of the stage, wondering what was about to happen. Erin, on the other hand, was panicking. Her head was spinning. The thoughts and memories she had kept within were starting to surface. Her family worked under one of the Big Four, and they had established a shelter on one of the orange portal planets. They had done a good job getting rid of the few advanced tier beasts that lived on the place. At last, they had moved up high enough in the family's ranks to obtain a place back on Earth. But on that fateful day, a Dalki ship had invaded the planet. The Dalki came and attacked. And at that moment, she witnessed her father being stabbed in the chest. As she stood there frozen, one of her father's old friends managed to rescue her. A female dressed in pure sparkling white came through the portal. Erin saw her pass by. She fought against the Dalki on her own and was able to go toe-to-toe with it. Erin cried a lot that day. Her tears wouldn't stop coming. She cried for all the people that had been lost. The woman who had defeated the Dalki walked up to Erin, but unlike what the others thought should be said to a child, she didn't give any words of comfort to Erin, but only gave her the harsh truth. "If you ever want to see your family or friends die again, then you have to become stronger." She had been selected because she no longer had the status her family once had. With everyone gone, she had been sent a token gesture of money from one of the Big Four, just enough for her to live off of for the rest of her life, but the political protection their family had was now gone. Following closely behind the row of students was the mechanical spider Logan had sent after them. Right now, Logan had returned to his room and he was monitoring the direction of the spider. He was also looking at a 3D map of the whole school. On it, there were several different indicators, each one being a different person from their group. "Okay, Fex, it looks like they're heading for one of the meeting rooms located on the 2nd floor of the west side. Layla, you stay close behind him. Once you turn and reach the end of the corridor, stay and wait in position. The 2 guards were stuck to Jack like glue. When Quinn and Vordon are ready, I will give the command and you guys will move out." Jack entered the meeting room followed by the 8 students. One of his guards had also entered the room with them, while the other stayed outside, guarding the door. Quinn and Vordon were at one side of the corridor, while Fex and Layla were at the other side, patiently waiting for Logan's order. "All right, Rayton," Vordon said. "Looks like you're up."
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.